Hey everybody, what is going on there? Let me get this set up here. So this is a whole new thing I've never done before. So we're going to try something a little different here. I might play a little bit tonight, trying to stay up. But I saw that Farket came out with a Q&A video of M. Night discussing Sons of the Forest. And I started to watch it and decided instead I was going to review it here. And, you know, let's just check this out. So, again, something I've never done before. Don't know how this is going to go, but we're going to try it. So, yeah, stick with me here. So there we go. All right, guys. All right. Apologize there to get that sorted out. Trying to decide if we're better off to play some full player or not.
Hello everyone, it's Farket here, and in this video I'm going to provide you with another Q&A that I had with M. Night. Now, prior to the trailer coming out, they emailed me asking if I wanted another Q&A after the
You'll see here, he gives permission to do this.
Of course, they said yes again. Now, this time I asked 28 questions. I couldn't decide on a lot of them, so I put at the end questions that I thought weren't that important, but they answered them all, so it was very good of them. There'll be timestamps in the video, as well as a bar across the top to tell you how long the question that goes for, because I'll say the question, the answer, and provide my analysis.
And see the
There'll be a link to the questions in the description. I'll probably put them on the Sons of the Forest wiki, if you'd rather read them or translate them into another language. Also, if any other YouTubers or content creators want to do this as well, feel free to do it. You might have a better take on the questions than I do. Anyway, there's a lot of questions, so let's get into it. Question 1. Are you able to provide more information about the woman in the trailer? Does the player need to protect her at all times? Some players are concerned that she might be needy and require a lot of maintenance. Or will there be a story mode and a survival mode? Their answer: she doesn't give you missions or anything like that. You can try to have her like you, ignore her, scare her off. How you interact with her is up to each player, and we hope everyone will have really unique interactions with her. So this is awesome news. Basically means that the story element of her won't be forced upon you. It's really good when a developer gives you freedom of choice. They don't force elements of the game upon you, such as forced cutscenes and story elements that might not interest everybody. I'm personally like that, but each their own. This does look like a fun mechanic they're adding to the game though. Question.
Okay. Alright, so, hey, let's just, I want to kind of discuss that a little bit further, because that sounds really interesting, actually. So the woman in the trailer, I just actually assumed that was another player. I didn't even think about it being an NPC. Oh, I actually have this for this. Hey, there we go. But yeah, I didn't actually even think about it being an NPC and there being a story and someone you can actually interact with in the world. That's insane to think about because, you know, the First Forest is completely devoid of anything but the cannibals. Any other life is dead. It's not there. So that's an interesting concept and one I'm super intrigued to explore. I kind of like the idea that they're giving a story there that you don't have to do, but if you want to do, you can. Also, the idea of how you approach it can change. That sounds really, really interesting. I hope they're not over-promising with that. Just because, you know, we ran into that a lot here, I feel like, over the last few years with games. But I'm not trying to knock these guys because these guys have delivered so well so far that I don't think that's the case here. But interesting. So there will be at least one NPC. I feel like that implies there will be more than one, and I can't help but to wonder how that will actually work in, and if there's going to be a multiplayer, how that will work. Will you all have to decide to interact with this NPC the same way, or are you going to have to? Is it going to be unique to each player? Like, I wish they would have explained that one a little bit more. Let me go back to this.
How will solar panels be used throughout Sons of the Forest? Just a side note, whenever you see SOTF, it's just an abbreviation of Sons of the Forest. Their answer: you will be able to use these to charge batteries. For example, for a battery-operated chainsaw, or keep simple electronics running such as lights or heaters. Now, I can't say I've ever heard of a battery-operated chainsaw, but they must exist.
I'm surprised
I don't
that
think
he
they'll be as
hasn't.
powerful as a
Figured
two-stroke or
Australia knows
four-stroke
about
powered
battery
chainsaw. My guess is that they
we do
will be
have them.
expanding upon this throughout the game's development. That is if they release it in an alpha state, or if they've got Steam Workshop, then players will be able to add their own things to the game. Because it's battery operated, you won't have to worry about fuel, so I'm wondering if it's going to replace axes entirely once you find it. The chainsaw in the forest, you had to maintain a fuel supply, but if you got an unlimited source of fuel, maybe the battery doesn't last very long. I reckon that's how they'll do it. The lights and heaters thing is good too. Using skull lights all the time wasn't always the best, especially the hanging skull light. I found that its flickering used to bother me, though we'll still probably get it. It's good to have.
Alright, so interesting. So, there's going to be solar panels and charging batteries. That definitely brings... I want to know all the ideas that's going to bring, and you're going to be able to bring the flashlight in from the beginning that way, I guess? And that will be convenient. No lighter, but I don't know. If there's no lighter, what happens when your flashlight runs out? Are you just stuck in the dark if you haven't charged at the solar panel enough? Boy, that could make the game rough. A whole different aspect that, like, we haven't even thought about having to manage. But as far as the battery-powered chainsaw, I don't know about it replacing the axe. I don't like that idea necessarily. I feel like more they just decided the battery, like if they're going with solar panels and batteries, they should just replace the chainsaw that way, because the gas was really kind of silly in the first one. It can be kind of hard to maintain a consistent supply of fuel, so I can't help but to feel like maybe they just decided to make the chainsaw part of the battery, because that is a thing. They are shit compared to a real chainsaw, but it is a thing. And I can't help but to feel like they just went with that to utilize their battery a bit more. But that's definitely an interesting concept, to say the least.
To have a lot of options. Question 3. How has your experience differed from working on Sons of the Forest to The Forest? Their answer. Compared to the first game, we feel we are able to do so much more. Better visuals, more complex AI. And since we are...
Now, that right there, I just want to stop right there and point out, like, if you've seen the Sons of the Forest trailer, the graphics are majorly updated. Like, I can't even express how much more they are updated. It's insane. Really, really big graphic change.
Becoming
more complex AI. Can you imagine that, though? Because the AI in the Force is actually really smart.
into it with a better idea of what we are making, we're also able to dedicate time to tools, so the development itself feels a lot more structured and sane than the first project. I think I know exactly where they're coming from the tools perspective. It'd be like cutting down every tree in the forest with a plain axe instead of using a chainsaw or a better axe. That's the way I would describe it. I think it's also going to make it a lot easier for them to maintain the game throughout the course of its life with updates and stuff like that. They'll be able to have a lot better foundation for the game. So when they start whacking things on top of it, even if they didn't plan for it, the game will probably take it a lot better and cause less bugs.
So, yeah, of course, less bugs, where he's going there. But, like, that's a big thing I've pointed out. I talked to a lot of people about this game. Anybody that knows me on here knows I've streamed it, I've played it a lot. I know this game almost inside and out, mainly from watching Farket and spending time in it. There's also people that may not have played with me that have seen me in their chats that I've helped out. But, like, the AI in this game is actually really intelligent considering, and only 4 guys, I think, total. 5 if you count the music. We was just looking at it in another person's stream. I was watching somebody just play this, and like, the fact that they were able to accomplish that much, and the AI can aggro. It reacts to how you play differently. If you kill a female, it aggroes the males. Meat racks attracting them. Just simple stuff like that. Can you imagine what they can accomplish if they're saying they have a more complex AI? Like, it's even kind of smart about how it gets to you, how it patrols the map. Well, I say smart. It's somewhat smart. Of course, as a computer, it still has to function on certain paths and AIs, and once you figure that out, it's not very hard to get around it. But still, like, the complexity of it is insane, and, like, just watch Farket's videos. The detail he had to go into to find out some of the stuff he found out is just insane. So, like, the amount of AI, that's just nuts. As far as, let's see, what else did I say? The more tools. I definitely get what they're saying. That's part of the reason we are getting Sons of the Forest. They actually decided that they couldn't change anything in this game without breaking it and making people have to reset saves and stuff like that. So that's part of the reason they wound up going on to a second game. And again, they have a whole studio now, and I can't even imagine what great things they're going to cook up. I think we're going to be really impressed here. Let's move on to the next question.
Question 4. In the second trailer, a guitar can be seen leaning on the wall of the log cabin in the snow. Will players be able to collect props in Sons of the Forest? Their answer: the guitar is usable as a weapon, and our composer Gabe Castro even made some riffs you can play on it. So that's kind of cool. I like how they're going with the gimmicky weapons still, like the tennis racket from the forest, which I have a feeling won't be returning. For those who have never held an electric guitar, they're very, very heavy at its base. It would mess you up if you got hit by one of them. You'd easily be able to kill someone or something with it, until you snap the neck off it, which I wonder if that will happen. Now, while I do say gimmicky, the tennis racket was a very effective weapon in the forest. It was very unique, because it didn't use much stamina. You could swing it indefinitely without running out. So I wonder what unique thing they'll do for the guitar. I guess
That's interesting. Makes me think of Left 4 Dead. I'm not going to flip out my frame here just because I feel like this is just a short one to touch on. But that's funny that they're going with the guitar. It definitely makes me think of Left 4 Dead. Again, only one guy made the music for the first game, and it appears that he is at least going to be very important in the music in this one, and maybe even doing the whole music again. But the fact that, like, they even put riffs, like he wrote riffs that you'll be able to play is just great. I really feel like they gave him a lot of credit, and just another thing that makes me really happy about the game.
that's we'll have to see. Question 5. All of the combat in the trailer involved guns and no melee combat. Do you have something special planned for melee combat? Their answer:
That actually is something I noticed and was curious about, but I just figured melee we know.
with the latest trailer, we wanted to focus on new things players haven't seen before in the first game, and so showing gun combat was important. Melee combat has been improved substantially, with much more accurate collision on weapons, better blood and damage effects, and also smarter enemies. Now, when they say melee combat has been improved substantially, the Forest already had great melee combat, so I'm very excited to see what they do with this. Because most games, the animation for the swinging the weapon, it starts and repeats back to the same starting animation. With the Forest, you start swinging, you build momentum. It doesn't return back to the same starting spot every time you swing it, like in 7 Days to Die and many other games. So this is going to be really cool to see.
That one actually is a longer point. Yet another, like, really great point there he makes. So, like, I got that. I definitely assumed that was what we were seeing in the trailer there. It's just, we know what melee combat looks like. That's all we had in the first Force, other than the flintlock pistol, flare gun, and, like, bows. You know what I mean? But, like, it was a lot of melee. So I feel like they just weren't really showing that off because there wasn't much to show off other than, like, the guitar and some special things. Weird weapons, probably, that, you know, no point in showing those off yet. The guns are the new thing. That is going to be the big focus. And going to be honest, it scares the hell out of me that they appear to be, they're just going to give you guns like that. Because, holy shit. If they're just going to give you guns, that means the enemy is definitely going to be harder. Which they mentioned smarter enemies, which, as we already covered, the AI is already incredibly smart considering this game actually came out in, what was it, 2014 is originally when it came out. So, like, wow, wow, I know they improved the AI over the time, but wow, still, to be built on the original Foundation code from 2014, a major achievement. I just can't give them enough credit for it. But yeah, as he mentioned, the melee in this is actually really good, and a lot of games could take a message from it. Not saying that other games are bad, just they did it really well in this. And if they actually have managed to improve it substantially, as they say, um, I think some people need to look out for these guys. Look out for Midnight. I think they might be onto something there that we need to keep an eye on them. Let's go on to our next question.
Question 6. I received quite a bit of concern from console and VR players from the Q&A last time that they won't be able to play for a long time. Are you able to provide any more information for them to put their minds at rest? Their answer: we haven't announced any platforms other than PC yet. Now, with this answer, they almost sounded a bit annoyed at the question, but I wouldn't get too upset about this. Like I said in the last video, they don't want to promise something that they can't fulfill. What I think will most likely happen is that they will outsource the PlayStation and possibly Xbox version to another company so they can make it. Because that's what a lot of game developers actually do nowadays. They outsource it to another company who convert it to a console version or a VR version.
I kind of hope they don't do that. I kind of hope they don't do that. I know that is what a lot of companies do, but I got so screwed over this that I actually feel the need to stop right there and go over this. 7 Days to Die, as he has mentioned also in this video. The company that made it, they're a PC developer. They don't make console games. So they did that. They outsourced 7 Days to Die to be made a console through Telltale Games Publishing. If any of you keep up with any of that, you'll know Telltale Games went under. It crashed. When it went under, they didn't give that game to another company. They didn't pick it back up and say, hey, we'll keep it going with updates, even though the game was already made and ported. They said, nope, sorry, we're not a console game maker, we're a PC game maker. And 7 Days to Die, if you go look right now on any Twitch stream, is an amazing game. If you watch me play it, which I still do because I love the freaking game, it sucks. It looks like trash. I don't even have half the stuff. The map's not the same. It's frustrating. I can't watch anybody else play it because it makes me not like the game, and I love the game too much to not play it. So, like, I ignore most of everything to do with that game. But I am so frustrated, and I will never buy a game that company makes again because I don't want to get screwed. So, where I see where they might do that, I really hope they don't.
Now, as far as I know, Midnight actually made the VR version and the console version for The Forest. So they might be able to do it again. Though Midnight's got a lot more resources now, a lot more money, that they could just outsource it. And that's what I think they'll do. So when the game comes out, I don't think it will take very long for the game to come out on console or in VR. Though that's me being optimistic. You should be too, even though this doesn't affect me whatsoever, because I don't have a console. I've got VR, but I don't use it. When you've got a 2-year-old, you don't have that kind of expensive equipment just lying around. I need a safe place to store it, which I don't have. So hang in there, stay positive. Or for console players, just get a PC. I tell you, it's much better.
Yeah, but a lot of us don't have $1,000 to just throw into the bare minimum. That's why we buy consoles. We can get them for $200 to $300 on layaway, even at payments. I'm not gonna flip my screen again because again I kind of went over this one and my rant there on 7 Days to Die, and I don't feel like I really need to go into anymore. I kind of hope they don't do that, and I hope they do it themselves. But surely, with as much success as this game had on consoles. Sorry, I can't talk. Like, if you go look at Twitch right now, you can find people playing on PlayStation. I can go find people playing on PlayStation right now. I can start up a game, and there'll be somebody there. If I start up a map and open it, people will jump in. So surely, they'll pick it back up. So I definitely agree with them there that we will get it on console.
It really is. Question 7. How does the team feel about reusing assets and textures from the forest? Their answer. Since we are aiming for a much higher fidelity in the new game, we revised and updated almost every asset that's making a reappearance. There are still some placeholder assets from the first game that can be seen in the latest trailer, but those will likely be replaced. Now, if you don't know what a placeholder is, it's just something developers use for, say, a weapon with intention to change it later on, but they need something there to begin with. And because Sons of the Forest has a prequel, they could just use those assets in the meantime until they can finish polishing the game and that sort of stuff. Now, the reason I asked this question was that if they used previous assets, it would speed up the development of the game. And I think I covered this. And because Sons of the Forest has a prequel, they could just use those assets in the meantime until they can finish polishing the game and that sort of stuff. Now, the reason I asked this question was that if they used previous assets, it would speed up the development of the game.
It's a prequel?
And I think I covered this in the analysis I did of the second trailer, or maybe it was the first Q&A. I actually don't have a problem with seeing older assets. You can actually bring on a bit of nostalgia seeing things from the last game, though too much of that can make people think the devs are lazy for not reworking the textures. I did ask a few people about this, and they said that Minecraft, I think there was a texture overhaul, and I think it either upset people or made people very happy. I'm not sure because I've never played Minecraft before. And based on what I know of Midnight, they like to have things polished. They don't half-ass things. So I can't imagine we're going to see many assets from the old game. Though we'll see. I think from my point of view is that if they have to work on more assets, it's going to take longer to finish the game. That's just me being greedy.
Okay. Hold up. So, I just Googled it. From what I can tell, I think he just used the wrong word there, and he meant sequel. Nothing I pulled up says prequel. Everything says sequel. I think he just used the wrong word there. Unless he knows something that he's not revealing yet here. As far as this one goes, though, like, yeah, I kind of agree with them here. I don't mind necessarily seeing it. They'll update the textures, and, like, yeah, that's fine. No big deal on that. We've already seen the graphics clearly look way better, and, God, there's just really not much more to discuss on that one. He threw me off with that prequel statement. Like, thought he knew something I didn't.
Thinking like that. Question 8. One of the most common questions I've been asked is how to brighten caves and nights. From what I have observed, some devices cause more darkness than others. This must be hard to approach as darkness adds significantly to the horror theme of the game. Do you have any plans to add options for this, or do you have any recommendations for players? Sorry about the wording of this question. Their answer. We haven't gotten to this yet, but plan on improving gamma settings for the sequel. Over the course of doing videos on the forest for like 3 years, I think it's been, it has definitely been the number one question I've got, which is how to brighten caves or brighten the nighttime. Now, most of the time I actually don't brighten it. I actually do it in post-processing. When I'm editing the video, I'll add a filter that brightens it so you can see what's going on. Because while I can see it on my PC, I know if someone's watching it on their phone, they're not going to be able to see shit. Phones, for some reason, are a lot darker than PCs. I'm not sure about TVs. I don't watch a lot of YouTube on TV. Though it's also hard to say for me too. I don't watch a lot of gaming videos. I don't know if other YouTubers brighten their night times or their caves. It's a hard thing to balance though. For example, when you brighten up the nighttime or cave, when you open up the survival guide, the light is so bright that it's disorientating. And then you got filters like NVIDIA Shadow Play filters, which brighten it up as well. And there's other third-party software you can get. I think for console players, they've got to work with what they've got. So hopefully they add something for this, and hopefully people don't abuse it, because you still want the horror theme of the game. It really adds to the immersion. If it's just...
I don't know what he's talking about console players having a workaround. No, we don't. I'm just another one I don't feel like having to pop out for. But, no, we don't. We're just screwed with darkness and, not being able to see for shit in water and water looking like shit. Those were just things we were stuck with, and I do hope they fix. You don't have to make it so bright that we can see, but on PC they were able to change that gamma or color setting or whatever, and it just tweaked the brightness enough that you could see farther than your hand sticking out in front of you. And like, I get it, with no light source, you shouldn't be seeing crap. But once you have the light source, you should at least see something. And I get that a lighter should not see that far, but as the game worked backwards and a lighter showed more than a torch, yeah, it should have. We should be able to see a little better. So that is something I do hope that they do get to. I'm glad that they plan on improving the gamma settings, and hopefully, as they said, they haven't announced anything but PC yet, but hopefully we do get it.
Bright as all hell everywhere. The game's not going to be immersive. See, when I'm playing
Also
it,
that
the
with
game's
the
a lot
super
darker
bright.
than what you see it in the video. I sometimes chop and change
Also
to show
on
you what it's
streams,
actually
yeah.
like for me, but
Half
not
the
all
time
the
I
time
can't
because I
tell,
think that'd get
even if their
annoying. So
setting
hopefully
is
they can
up.
come up with a good fix that doesn't let players abuse the system. That's what I'm hoping for. Question
I agree.
9. Can we have chickens? Their answer. I think the closest we can do is ducks. Digit mentioned this as a question, and I just laughed my ass off. I thought it was so funny because I thought the idea, if we had chickens, we could keep them in pens and we could have eggs and use them for meat. I thought that would be great. We're getting ducks, but hopefully we could do the same with ducks because you can. Though that's hard to say. Domesticated rabbits were cool. I like to see more domesticated animals. Well, you're not really domesticating, you just keep them in the cage so they breed or produce goods for you. Now, this type of question was to gauge their sense of humor, and they've definitely got a sense of humor. I definitely had a good laugh at this one. It would be good to see if we can capture more animals and use them for resources. Have pig pens and stuff, and then eventually it turns into a farming sim. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but yeah, gives players options.
Short question here, so again, I'll stay out like this. But, that's funny. That cracks me up, the response. But I kind of do wish we would get chickens. If they give us ducks, then, like you said, that same thing. You could keep them and get eggs and meat. And, like, that also could be a joke at Minecraft, because, like, are they chickens or are they ducks? You know, that whole thing. So, like, I kind of feel like they were giving a good joke there. But I do agree. I hope we get a little bit more use out of wildlife, or more wildlife.
Options of how they want to play. Question 10. Has a pandemic influenced development on Sons of the Forest? Their answer. We have a pretty small team, and so switching to working mostly remote
This is
hasn't
not one
been
I
too
need
bad
to
for
stop
us.
for
It
either.
means that they're able to work on the game pretty much fully, I'm assuming. I'd imagine having everyone in office would be a lot more efficient, though. Everyone's got Discord and email and voice chat and Skype these days, so which is good. Question 11. What details can you provide about the map? Are you able to give an indication of the world size compared to the forest? Also, in the forest ending, you showed a map of Site 2. Will this be similar to the map in Sons of the Forest? Sorry about this question too. I wanted to keep all the map related questions as one instead of 3 separate questions. Their answer. The new map is about 4 to 5 times the size of the first game.
Hold up. Wow. 4 to 5 times the size of the first game. So it is set on Site 2. Site 2 is going to be the thing. But oh my god, 4 to 5
It is
times.
set on Site 2. However, since we drew that map before starting development on this game, the map and that drawing won't match exactly. Now, if you're not sure what that image is, I'll put it up. Zebulon got this for me. He found it in the game code because the version in the game cinematic isn't that great. I'm not going to show that cinematic because it does contain spoilers for those who haven't finished the game. So even this in itself is a bit of a spoiler. It's good to know it's going to be 4 to 5 times the size. That's awesome. I'd imagine it's going to give them a lot more freedom to do a lot more different things. Thinking about the size of the forest's map compared to other survival games, and it is a little on the small side, I think, but it never felt small to me. It never felt claustrophobic. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that word right. But the thing is about the forest thing is about the forest is that you've got
like
the above
the bass
ground
player
world and the
from
underground world.
Red Hot
the
Chili
game
Peppers?
is quite big if you look at it in that dimension. Though I'm going to admit I'm not looking forward to building a zipline highway 4 to 5 times further than what I did in the forest, because that's what I'm going to be doing. If they'll allow me to do so, of course. They will see. I might upload this image to the Sons of the Forest wiki so you can have a look at it yourself. I wouldn't take too much away from it, as they do mention that the drawing won't match it.
But yeah, 4 to 5 times larger. That is just absurd. Because I'm with him, the map on the forest did not ever feel small to me to begin with. It's not large, but it's, I wouldn't say small either. I don't know. I always felt it was right. But 4 to 5 times larger, my god, that's going to be insane. And I'm with them. I can't imagine placing the zip lines and having to learn the landmarks again and everything. it's gonna be even more absurd. But I guess that's why they're gonna. It looks like you're gonna get a GPS thing or something. I am pleased to know that it's gonna be at site too. I did have a feeling that that blurry ass picture was not gonna be what we'd wind up getting, but I mean, I'm not disappointed by that at all. Wouldn't have expected them to give us that much. But yeah, no, let's get back at it. Next question.
Exactly. Question 12. What names or placeholders do you have for the woman and other creatures shown in Sons of the Forest? Now I'm going to blur out the answer here, and I'm going to give you a few seconds to guess what it might be. So you ready? Their answer. We do call her Virginia. You also see twins and fingers towards the end of the trailer. Now, if you're not sure what twins and
Okay, so I do call her Virginia. You also see twins and fingers.
fingers are, I'm assuming these ones, and obviously Virginia. So I was calling her Virginia from the
Twins
start,
and
and
fingers.
after reading a lot of comments, I'm like, yeah, no, it's definitely going to be wrong. But it looks like that's what they're calling her. Though that could be just their placeholders. They might give her another name. Though as for twins and fingers, I'd imagine that's going to be their name, because in the forest they called Armsy because it was filled with arms. They called the Virginia because, yeah, due to what I believe is a lot of sexual organs. And the cowman, well, because it charges. So while these names might sound silly and a little bit simplified, I think they're perfect because it explains what they are. They're quick, they're short, and they're almost Australian because we shorten everything here or give it a nickname. So this is perfect.
Australia.
She's called Virginia, though it's making me think that she might have been in the process of becoming one and it was halted, that she was experimented on and escaped halfway through the procedure. That's what I'm guessing. Though we'll wait and see. Hopefully I didn't guess that right. Now they're thinking, God, we're going to change it.
So that is interesting, and I actually kind of want to back up through some of this. Love this picture of the cowman, by the way. Their faces are terrifying. You can chop them off and mount them as a trophy, and it is freaking great. Virginia's, yes, hilarious. Love the bikini, and that is indeed why they are called Virginias, because you can't be saying the other V word that they have four of between those legs. Yeah. It was often theorized that they actually birthed the mutants, but that is interesting, and of course Armsies, we know. But I agree, this Virginia looks... I didn't know this is what they were going to call her. We're going to rewatch that real quick, but I wanted to take a look at this, because that's just nuts. Fingers and the twins, I like that that's what they're calling them. Fingers looks terrifying. It reminds me of Full Metal Alchemist. Gluttony thing kind of creeps me out. But this,
And so I'm like, yeah, no, that's definitely going to be wrong. But it looks like that's what they're calling her. Though that
this here, ooh. Oh. So they are calling her Virginia. It looks like she's humping that rock. And then she goes all ballerina, grows legs, and just broop. She's only got 3, though. So she's only got 3 instead of 4. Interesting. But yeah, so I am also very intrigued by that. I'm gonna back that up just a hair so we can see that question while we discuss this. So, yeah, twins and fingers. That's our names we're getting. I get that those could just be placeholders as well as Virginia. I almost don't think it is, though. Simple reasons, kind of like he said, the names got handed to the first ones and they just kind of stuck. And it's kind of been a thing of this game, and I think we'll wind up going with that because that just fits. I mean, I already want to call them that, twins and the fingers. Twinsies and fingers. And Virginia, if we call her Virginia and give that as her actual name, and we are making a story, that unlocks so much, so many possibilities there. But yeah, let's continue on there.
thinking, God, we're going to change it. I doubt that. Question 13. Do you have plans to combat cheating and griefing in multiplayer? Their answer: we are exploring some options for this. Now, I wasn't expecting much of an answer for this. The reason I asked was because it was pretty bad in the forest. On PC, it's really bad because people can use mods that just grief the hell out of the game, like destroy every structure and stuff. But even on console, I've heard players will join your game and just grief what you're doing. They'll come in and just start destroying everything. So I imagine they're going to have things in the game that are going to prevent that. Maybe provide rules for the host to select, such as players who join cannot destroy buildings, or you could flag structures, such as you've got a meat rack or something. You can flag it so only you can take meat off it. Stop players from just like picking up everything and just leaving. I will see. I think they're a little bit too early in development to answer this question.
That is an interesting thing, and might be, as we've seen with, what is it, game that was hated so much, but it made such a big comeback. No Man's Sky. They have settings kind of similar to that. I could see that being a thing, although that sounds a little overly complicated, but I do kind of hope they come up with something. It would encourage me to open my games up to randoms a little bit more, because I don't. You ain't getting in my game unless I know you. That's just all there is to it, because you ain't fucking up my shit. I'll rage, and there ain't nothing I can. Well, I guess you exit, but like knowing me, I probably haven't saved in 2 hours, so like, ooh, I'll be so mad. So giving us an option to prevent it would be great.
Fully. Question 14. The movements of cannibals look very realistic. Are you using motion capturing? Their answer: we are using motion capturing for almost everything this time, and worked with a really great studio called Beyond Capture for recording. By comparison, the first game was entirely hand animated. We also expanded our animation team, and so for things we can't motion capture, such as distorted creatures, we still do hand keyframing. It's actually quite amazing that they hand animated everything for the forest. A lot of the animations, the way the cannibals moved and that sort of stuff, was very realistic. They did a very good job on it. Though motion capturing, I think, saves a lot of time and effort. I went and checked out Beyond Capture, and if you're wondering what it is, on the homepage of their website, it shows you an example of what they're doing. That's if you didn't know what motion capturing is. Though looking in their clients, they've got heaps of developers in there.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them I don't know, but this one I recognize. It's called N9.
So interesting there. I do agree. I saw this trailer, and that was one of the first things I noticed. I don't know how many of you have seen this trailer, but one of the first things that caught my attention is the cannibals move extremely realistically. I am uber impressed. Can't get enough. They looked like people. I instantly thought, is that an NPC whenever I saw it? So that's cool. The fact that they used hand animation and didn't use motion capture or anything like that for the first one, that's even crazier that they didn't use any motion capture. Kind of makes sense for why you see some bugs in the first one, that with the way they move, because they hand animated that, and that's insane. But cool that they're going to be using motion capture. That's definitely something neat. Let's see what our next one is here. Whoops, wrong button.
Very good job on it. Though motion capturing, what it is, on the homepage of their website, they've got heaps of developers in there. Some of them I don't know, but this one I recognize. It's called N9. Question 15. You're using Unity and Houdini. What other tools are you using or experimenting with? What are your favorites? Their answer: we experimented briefly with photo scanning for world assets in the first game, but now use this for almost everything in the world. Instead of hand modeling things like stumps or even sticks, we go out and scan them. Now this is very cool.
What?
I actually don't know anything about photo scanning, though I'd imagine it would speed up their development quite a lot. Although I am interested to know what assets in the first game were photo scanned, so we could do like a comparison of how good it actually is. Because I'm not sure, I've never really looked into this. If you know a bit about it, put it in the comments. I might actually do some research myself. Though I have done some research in game development, I've noticed over the course of the last 5 years, a lot of these tools are coming to fruition that just make things a lot easier for game developers. It means they can focus on the core mechanics of the game a little bit more, while also getting very realistic assets and textures and stuff. Though I don't think you can photo scan a texture.
So, I do know what photo scanning is to a degree. I'm sure most of you do, actually. But you've all probably seen it. It's kind of usually how they 3D print things, I'm pretty sure. It's just basically like scanning it, and the computer measures it. Like, it's way more complicated than I can explain. I'm not smart enough to explain it. Well, I don't know enough to explain it, maybe. No, I'm definitely not smart enough. Look at my fuzzy hat. Um, anyway, but I definitely see where that could generate some real textures, and I see where that's probably coming in, because if you look at that new trailer, the detail on everything is way more intense, and I bet that's where we saw some graphic changes in the first one. If you look through some of the update changes, watch some of the people playing it as it goes, you can see some of the texture changes, how they become more realistic. Although I almost think the trees looked more realistic in the beginning. In the distance, up close they look better now, but in the distance the forest looked more like a forest in that like original alpha version. But that's cool. That's really cool. Definitely something I want to see. Can't wait to see what we get with that. I forgot to change that. He is 100% right on that. With the sequel, a lot of times they spend too much time trying to, as he said, recreate the wheel. And you got a good game. We just want more of it. We want more story. We want to play that character more and do more things. So like it's cool to implement new things, but at the same time, like, develop on the foundation that's there. I did expect to see that a lot with this. If you've been watching this, I've stated earlier, one of the reasons they wound up moving on to a new game is because they couldn't do anything with the first one without breaking the game. It had reached that point. So it's not exactly a surprise to me that this is more of a development on that, because this is what they couldn't do with the forest. Their ideas that expanded on that. And then I'm pretty sure, once they were like, well, we got to make a new game, they expanded on that even more. And so, like, again, not surprised on this one, and that's part of the reason I am super pumped for this game. It will be one of the few games I've ever pre-ordered. I think I've only pre-ordered, like, 2 games in my entire life so far. Getting ready to be a third and maybe fourth. Let's see. Let's kick this back over the way it's supposed to be. Let's go on to the next question here. Let's see what we got going on.
Question 17. What details are you able to provide about the 3D printer? Side note, the attention to detail in that scene is simply amazing. Their
Wait,
answer.
what?
A bunch of us on the team have
3D printer. I don't remember seeing a 3D printer. And I'm real curious about this, and I hope he shows it.
3D printers, and we thought it would be a fun way to expand crafting, letting players print additional items that can be assembled into more complex items. To use the printer, you will need to find resin, which comes in different colors, also allowing you to print multicolored items to make things look really unique. So that's really cool. If you've never used a 3D printer, you often don't print big, massive projects. You print little pieces and then put them together, usually to stop it from collapsing.
We're discussing some crazy stuff there. I have never used a 3D printer, and this sounds cool as shit.
It's going to be cool to have multicolored items, though. Maybe it's their take on personalization this time. Last time they had
like
orange
that.
and blue paint, which didn't really work out, so they removed it. And then they had the custom placement of upgrades, which they ended up removing because it was very bugged. After a few save games, it would end up removing where you placed them anyway. Or the appearance of the upgrades would just be removed completely, because that's what actually happens in the game now. Your upgrades don't last, they end up disappearing. Though they've got a better foundation to work off at this time. So custom features such as this are going to be much easier to work with, and will probably work.
I don't know what he's talking about, custom features. I am blown away by the fact there's going to be a 3D printer. I'm assuming it's probably also going to work off your solar panel. But that'll be nuts. Can you imagine that? Like, I wonder what all you'll be able to 3D print. Being able to make it multicolored in different colors, like, that's just... I don't know. It's a nice little touch. I enjoy it. Like, that was a long answer for something real simple, but, like, that makes me super excited.
A lot better. Question 18.
That'll be fun.
Will Sons of the Forest have ray tracing? How did you make the snow reflect light off the top of the log in the trailer? Their answer: the light reflecting effect is actually a bug with our snow shader on the dynamic moving log. We don't currently use ray tracing, but plan to experiment with it. Me, I thought that was amazing how it did that. It turns out it was actually a bug, but I guess it was a good bug. And they must have had a lot of confidence to put it in the trailer too, because it impressed me, but it turns out it was a bug. I'm hoping to see ray tracing because I still haven't played a game that's got ray tracing in it. I don't think I have, and I've got the 3080. It's my first RTX card. Hopefully this can be the first game I play with ray.
Yeah, as a console player, I don't get those joys. But that is funny that that's a bug, and almost one that if it's not causing any harm, leave it. It looks great.
Ray tracing. Question 19. What games does the team play in their spare time? Their answer: it's pretty varied. Everything from big new releases to more niche simulator games on Steam. Now, the reason I asked this was try to get a bit of a gist of what they're about, what kind of games they're into and that sort of thing. I was hoping for some more specifics, but this is what we got. I'm especially interested in the more niche simulator games on Steam.
I kind of understand that. People ask me that all the time, like, what games do you play? I have like 217 games in my library. I buy all sorts of crap on sale. I play games with people. I play a little bit of everything. I don't have a specific game I play. I don't really play Call of Duties, yet I do have a couple and I have played them, but I don't really play them.
Steam.
Continuing
Question
on.
20. Will the sanity system be returning? If so, what plans do you have for it? Their answer: we never found a great use for it, eventually limiting it to unlocking certain building types. We don't currently have plans to implement it in the sequel unless we come up with an idea of how to use it. Now, if you're wondering what happened in the forest with sanity, it didn't actually do anything for pretty much a majority of its time in the game.
Effigies.
They added a thing towards the end of development where if your sanity reached 90% or lower, you could build the effigies in the game. Normally they were unlocked permanently, but if you wanted to build them after that update, you had to drop your sanity a bit. It was a strange change, but it didn't really add much to the game because effigies were kind of gimmicky. They only work when you light them on fire and then they don't last that long. The effect is very similar to red paint except it's stationary. Has no effect on mutants, only cannibals. As for them not having any plans to implement it unless they come up with an idea of how to use it, I don't really have many suggestions except for what Green Hell did. Now I'm going to show you some footage of the Green Hell sanity system. This is from my latest playthrough, which I'm currently doing.
I've heard about this.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I can't. Don't even try. Oh, I'll never you can't. You're hungry. Don't touch it. You need to eat.
Oh my god. That's awesome.
Now, what Green Hell did was absolutely
That
amazing.
is amazing.
But while I say it is amazing, I think it may be a little bit gimmicky. I also don't think Endnight would just like to copy a sanity system straight from another source.
If they implement the insanity system like that, that would be fucking terrifying, and I would love it. It would be great. But I do hope if they're not going to do anything with it, that they just don't implement it. I mean, it didn't really have much of a purpose in the first one. Like he said, effigies were useless. They really didn't have a purpose, and like you'd light them on fire and they go away. They were just there to look cool. Let's see what our next one is.
You know, it keeps the spirits up, keeps the player feeling hopeful.
I do
that
like
sort
the
of thing.
morale idea,
Also,
though.
Question
That is
21.
interesting.
What is digging with a shovel used in Sons of the Forest? Their answer: in the trailer, the player uses it to find a bunker. We took inspiration from watching The Curse of Oak Island on History Channel.
What?
At least the commercials. Have never watched a full episode, but they
Okay.
seem to always be digging something up. That seemed like a really fun thing to do. Find a patch of loose dirt and try to find something cool. Certain traps will also benefit from digging. You can also dig into some of the cave entrances and possibly bury bodies if we can get it looking good. So that was a very
Ooh.
expansive answer. It sounds like they're very excited about this feature. Now, The Curse of Oak Island on the History Channel, I've actually never seen that. I haven't even seen trailers for it. Though, going back to the second trailer where the player's wiping away dirt, I didn't realize the player was actually leaning down. I thought he was standing up. I didn't realize it was on the ground. Though I didn't add two and two together that he was digging up something, and then the next scene he's wiping
I
away the
didn't
dirt
either.
from a door. So maybe that door was actually a hatch, which a lot of people commented I was skeptical, but yeah, yous were right. So this is an awesome mechanic. I think it's going to leave a lot of opportunities open for them for what they can actually do, where they could do randomized loot or add whatever they want at any time in the game. You don't have to change much of the map. You just put a dirt pile there, then all of a sudden you got something underneath it. So that's really cool. I had a feeling traps would be benefiting from the digging. I did mention that in the analysis video, I think. Digging in cave entrances would also be cool. Maybe that's a system so you can bring in bigger things like logs into the caves or something like that. And burying bodies, if they can get it looking good. Not sure what effect that'd have. Maybe it might be a sign of respect to tribes if you kill one of them or something like that. There's just so many things they can do with this feature. It's amazing thinking about it. And they could just add it at any point. Like I said, they don't have to change the map. It's going to be awesome. Anyway.
So burying bodies, that could definitely, I like that idea where he's talking about the tribes respecting you more. Especially like along that idea of a morale system or something like that. I would almost play into that, like leaving the bodies out there to rot or chopping them up, you know, would get you more. Maybe leaving them out there doesn't change much of anything, but burying them maybe gains you something. You're like the missionaries. I don't know. That could definitely be some interesting things. The whole digging thing is definitely interesting. I'm just curious about it, like the way we see it in that scene when it scoops up the little tiny hole. That'll be a pain in the ass to actually dig in the game like that. They'll have to figure out something like Minecraft and 7 Days to Die, like a
fuck this
shape.
shit, I'm out.
But yeah, they'd have to figure out something like that in order to make it work. So, like, I don't know how I feel about that. It definitely could be neat. I don't like the tiny hole idea.
Anyway, I'm just repeating myself. Question 22. Will you be adding colorblind mode to Sons of the Forest? Some players have advised me that survival games are quite difficult due to the large number of green colors involved. Their answer: we will be expanding the user interface options menu for the new game, so hopefully this is something we can add. Now, the main reason I asked this question is Digit, who makes thumbnails for me, and he helped me with the analysis. He's helped me with quite a few things.
You want Oliver Dobby Cheaty or any?
I don't know the specific name for it, but the way I could describe it, in the Matrix, they put a green filter on it. It's like that, but amplified quite a lot.
Oh, she jumped right up in my face. Oh, yes. Yes, they want to say hi to you. Can you oh, yes. Just gonna say hi. Oh, she's a sweet girl, isn't she? Is she a sweet girl?
I played Subsistence with him one time, and in that game there's like thatch bushes that you can pick up, and he said they were actually impossible to see, and he said a number of things in the forest and other survival games have affected him. Now, I don't have color blindness. I wouldn't have been able to join the police if I had it, though it affects about 10% of the population, and most of that 10% is men, and mostly men play survival games. Well, that's just based on what I think, and based on
I got a real Dobby for you.
Male. So it's probably a big chunk of the player base. I did do some research on this, and colorblind mode can actually be easily added. In the Unity store, they've actually got a download for it that you can add to your game. From memory, it was actually free.
Somebody gave him a sock, he ran away.
Not many games have a colorblind mode. I don't think a lot of games need it, but survival games, due to the amount of greens in that are involved, and you've got to keep an eye out for such things, I think it's important to add it. So hopefully they do. Question 23.
I'll admit that's not something I even considered, as I'm not colorblind, not something that I've really had to worry about. I mean, I hope they implement it. I never thought about that, but they definitely would. They definitely would need to implement something, because as they stated, the greens, and green does typically be a color. It's all the drink I got, man. I got no more.
Keep an eye out for such things. I think it's important to add it. So hopefully they do. Question 23. Is there anything you want to ask us or tell us as your customers? Their answer: we watched a bunch of the breakdowns of the trailer, and it was always really cool to see people try and find everything. There is one clue at the start of the first trailer that we are pretty sure everyone missed. I think due to compression on the IGN upload, but very clear on the 4K upload on our YouTube channel. Now, I did miss this, but I'm going to show you the scene of where it is, and I'm going to see if you can get it before I...
Okay, hold up. Hold up.
Actually just tell you what it is. Now, if you don't know this, the trailer that was originally released in 1080p, but N Night uploaded the trailer to their own
Trying to see something.
channel, but uploaded it in 4K. so it is much better quality. So I'd recommend you go check it out. I'll put a link in the description to their channel.
I
Make sure
assume
you
my
subscribe
video's
to them
still
too,
crap.
because as I
That's
said in
probably
the
why I
analysis
can't
of the
see it.
last video, if they're going to release any more content, it's going to appear on their channel first, and it will most likely be in the best quality. I can see why most people missed it. It's because it probably was the 1080p version. They're watching the 4K version, it stands out a lot easier.
I still can't see 4K. It's got to be the helicopter logo.
That is on the helicopter on the side of it. It says Sahara, which is awesome. It's excellent to know that they're bringing back the story element. They're really building on the story from the first game. I don't want to say too much about Sahara because it might spoil the game, but they are the reason for the forest happening, all the events, everything. So it looks like you're traveling with them to do something in this game. They're probably masquerading as a good...
You know, but that is interesting. As far as the company being in there, I expected that fully. That was something I'm not even surprised by. I assumed we were continuing with the company from the first one. I mean, it would only make sense. Rainbow Corporation. PP.
guys, but we know they're not. Now, these are the questions that I felt weren't that important, but I said, feel free to answer if you like, and they answered them all. And some of them are quite silly, but there's only 4 of them. Question 24. What happened to the wardrobe in the forest? Their answer. It was one of those ideas we experimented with, but didn't really feel fun or work well. Now I'll see what they mean by this. Because clothing in the game was actually quite weird to work with, in that you could only hold 5 outfits, and you couldn't drop any.
Yeah,
and
it was
every time
real
you picked up a
stupid.
new outfit, you would put it on. You couldn't just pick it up and put it in your backpack. And you couldn't really switch around outfits. So maybe the way they set up the game, it made it too difficult
I
to
don't
work
technically
with.
use
And also,
them
it was
now
at the end
that
of their
there
game
is the
development. They probably
Twitch
really wanted
points.
to move on from the forest since it was in a full release, and they were probably just completely over it. And I don't blame them. It wasn't really an urgent feature, and I doubt it would have added much to the game. Would have been a cool decoration though. Question 25. Is my obsession with the female in
See,
the
our
trailers
clothes were
unhealthy?
silly.
Can I please have a high quality wallpaper image of her? Their answer. Our character artist on the sequel was really amazing. We may release some high resolution character screens at some point. I'm not...
I do actually hope that they do release some high resolution shots of her, just because
Go into this
she does
question
look
too.
crazy.
Though they are right, their character artist is really amazing. She really does look good. I would like to see some high resolution screens. I just use the standard wallpaper that Windows 10 provides, so it'd be nice to get something a little bit better, especially from Sons of the Forest. That would be awesome. Question 27. Why can't I find
That's
another
funny.
survival game as good as The Forest? Their answer. We hope Sons of the Forest will be a massive improvement.
Agreed,
This is a bit of a joke
100%.
question, but it is being something I've been really struggling with YouTube. Trying to find a decent survival game that is similar to The Forest. Though I found that a lot of survival games are very similar to each other, especially the building, which is something I enjoy the most. A lot of these survival games just use IKEA-based building. It's just putting things together. There's no creativity really involved, and it's just killing me. I really need the Sons of the Forest to come out. I really do.
I agree,
28.
man.
What's the reasoning
I
behind
agree.
choosing Sons of the Forest instead of The Forest 2? Also, do you call it Sons for short? The name ties into the new story, and we feel it is a bit more interesting than just adding the number at the end, which is true.
So, I wonder, well, I don't even wonder. That almost confirms that we were 100% right with our guess. Wheat, you were with me on this. There is the canon story, the chosen story that's going to be considered what happens is that you save Timmy. He continues on to try to find Site 2, and Site 2 is where the game's taking place. So, like, as far as they've seemed to confirm all of that so far, and I think we were definitely right with our theories on that.
Sons of the Forest, it's obviously going to be the son. I think that you're going to be playing as Timmy. Though a lot of people have been
Yeah.
asking me to ask about whether the
I don't know that you'll be playing as Timmy, though. If they make it multiplayer, that'd be weird.
father will be returning as an Eric LeBlanc. Now, that's actually something I would like to see, though I have a feeling it might tie into the story as well, that you might have to find him. I don't think asking if Eric would be returning is a good idea, they probably won't answer it, or it probably is part of the
Yeah,
story.
they ain't gonna
And
answer
to be honest,
any
I
of
don't
that.
really want to know. I'm kind of excited to be
But I can see you trying to
I don't
find
want too
Timmy.
much to be
Timmy
given
came
away.
here.
But that's just me.
He sent
If
a
it's the final
signal.
question,
You're
which
part
I
of a
actually
squad
forgot to
coming to
record,
find
and I'm
him.
recording it later, which would make it 29 questions. Question 29. Are the cannibals actually mutants? What do you prefer to call them? I think there's confusion as the community calls the mutants cannibals and the creepy mutants mutants. When I did
Okay.
the wiki for the forest, I decided to go with the proper name of mutants and creepy mutants. The common name would be cannibals and mutants. This led to people trying to change it a lot.
Oh.
Their answer: we call the regular ones cannibals and the distorted ones creepies.
Awesome
So
to
that
know.
might sound confusing,
Awesome
but I
to know.
really needed to know. Because when I did the wiki, a lot of the patch notes said creepy mutants, and for normal cannibals, most of them said mutants. So it was very confusing to work with. That was good to get that cleared up. Anyway,
Yeah, that was really confusing, but I get it now. Because whenever the game files first came out and in the game files, the cannibals are labeled in the game files as mutants. So when he made the wiki and in his first videos, he refers to the cannibals as mutants. But people kept trying to correct it because as we've all come to call it, we call the cannibals cannibals and the mutants mutants. We don't consider the cannibals to be mutants at all. So that was just him clearing it up. The creators have agreed with us pretty much. There's cannibals and then creepies.
that's it. Hopefully I asked most of the questions you were thinking of. I want to say thanks to Ben and Knight for answering all these questions. I do appreciate it, them taking time out of their day to get us fans all excited, because I certainly am. I don't know if I'll get another Q&A. I'm not sure if one's needed at this point, because I actually don't know what other questions to ask. And this one I asked all 28 questions I had, and I could not think of other ones. Thinking about it now, I probably could have reworded questions and such, but I don't know how much more I would have gotten out of it. I mean, it's possible that when Knight releases another trailer, I might get another Q&A, but I'm not sure. I don't want to be greedy. I'm very, very grateful for what Knight's given me. Just so you know, I don't withhold any information that they tell me, so I'm not beta testing or anything like that.
That was interesting, though. I'm super pumped about that. Man, super intrigued on that. Sons of the Forest. I hope we get a release date on it soon, but I get that they're still working on it.